Welcome back. We'll continue with the part 2 of the session. We had completed the part 1 where we had covered 2 sections, that is, one was trade related section, the other was the philosophy section. Next we'll move to the Indus Valley Civilization part. So Indus Valley Civilization is one of the most critical areas of the ancient history, from where questions usually come in the prelims. Moving to the first question, which was asked in 2011, regarding the Indus Valley Civilization, consider the following statements. So they have clearly mentioned Indus Valley Civilization and consider the following statements. It was predominantly a secular civilization, and the religious element, though present, did not dominate the scene. So they are asking whether the civilization was secular. So this part is important. It is, they're asking that whenever they're asking whether Indus Valley Civilization was secular, and if the religious elements were present, they did not dominate the scene. Second point, during this period, cotton was used for manufacturing textiles in India. Cotton. So again, these 2 points. First is, this is the topic, Indus Valley Civilization is important. The topic you have understood. So next time when you are reading, you have to read especially Indus Valley Civilization. You have to go in depth, and whenever you are reading any particular era, you should see whether it is a secular civilization or there was religious elements that were present, and if they were present, in what type, and the crops grown, what was grown in that particular during that particular era. So first option is asking whether the civilization was secular or religious. The second part of the question is asking whether cotton was grown and it was used. So they're not asking whether cotton was grown, they're asking whether cotton was used for manufacturing textiles in India. So you should know what was present in that particular civilization. Mostly, for example, if it was textiles and any metals, food grains that were used, whether agriculture was present, whether there was worship of gods. So all these becomes important. You can also see whether there was any unique aspects of that particular civilization. Then I hope this is clear. Then we'll move to 2013. Which of the following characterize the people of Indus Valley Civilization, that is Indus Civilization? Again, now in 2011 they asked about Indus Valley Civilization. Now they're asking what characterizes the people of Indus Valley Civilization. Again, earlier they talked generally about the civilization. Now they are talking about the people of Indus Valley Civilization. Again, they asked about religious elements, but again, see here, they possessed great palaces and temples. Again, they are talking about whether they had palaces or temples. They worshipped, again related to religion. Again, religious elements. Again, they are asking the same thing here. So this was almost a repeat of the other earlier concepts. They worshipped both male and female deities. They employed horse-drawn chariots in warfare. Again, these are the things that you have to see, and once you have understood or read, it will be used. These options can also be used to ask questions in the future. I hope this is clear. You have to learn about Indus Valley Civilization and the people and the society and the religious, whether it is a secular or a non-secular civilization, and what was getting manufactured, whether there was worship of gods, whether there was presence of temples or palaces, and what was used in the warfare. These are all, you can draw inferences from the evidences that you get. What are the evidences that you have got? So clearly, depending on the evidence, you can say something was there or not there, or something was used, for example, horse-drawn chariots was used or not. Then Indus Valley Civilization continuation 2019, we have a question: which of the following is not a Harappan site? So Harappan sites are important, and what was the unique features of these sites? So for example, you have to read about all these 4 sites: Chanhodaro, Kodiji, Sogaura, and Desalpur. These are important sites. Even if it's not the correct answer, you have to go and learn about, search about these places, and then if there are any unique things about these places, you have to write it down in your notes. Write down in your notes. Moving to the next question that was asked in 2021, which one of the following ancient towns is well known for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management by building a series of dams and channelizing water into connected reservoirs? So they are asking which one of the following ancient towns with well known, see, so this is unique things about particular town, for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management, building a series of dams and channelizing water into reservoirs. Again, whenever you are going through, for example, there was a hint here, they talked about various Harappan sites, and then in 2021 they were talking about ancient towns in which there was it was well known for an elaborate system. So these are not simple things, these are very unique and very differentiating features of this particular town. So UPSC normally asks you about very differentiating or very unique things about any particular town, place, person, or anything, and it's normally UPSC's way of asking things. They ask you about unique aspects of a particular thing. In this case, they're asking about an ancient town which is very well known. That means they won't ask you anything that is not well known. Normally they ask you for which is very well known for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management, and where dams were built and there were channels that was water was channelized into collective reservoirs, and Dholavira, Kalibangan, Rakigadi, and Roper. So these were the 4 places that they asked, and our job is to read about this, make notes out of this, and if there are anything special about these places, write down in your notes. That way you will be able to answer questions like this. So we read about Harappan sites. So in 2019 itself, UPSC has hinted that they can ask Harappan sites, and in one of the Harappan sites they are now asking what was it well known for. I mean, it was which town was well known for this particular water harvesting system. Society, religion, any particular things that were used. For example, in this case they had asked about horse-drawn chariots, whether cotton was used. So this is horse-drawn, this is cattle, the religion part, the society, whether there was temples, right, and whether that was society was a secular civilization. So these are the important things that they can ask, and which of the following is an Harappan site, and in any of the sites, if there is anything which is very special, that becomes automatically important. Moving to the next section, this is the Vedic period or the Vedic age. So this is also one of the important sections in ancient history that we come across the questions. So in 2011, they had asked about the Dharma and Rita depict a central idea of the ancient Vedic civilization in India. Of India, Dharma and Rita, central idea of the ancient. So you have to know what is the central idea of all the civilizations, most of us are famous civilizations. In this context, consider the following statements. Dharma was a conception of obligations and of discharge of one's duty to oneself and to others. Rita was the fundamental moral law governing the functioning of the universe and all it contained. So these are the terms that were there. So whenever you are reading about Vedic civilization, or any, for that matter, any civilization, please take specific note of the terms that are used, any specific. For example, in this case, the word dharma and rita are used, and you have to understand, also remember what is it meant for and what is it meant and the meaning of it. Then 2016, the religion of early Vedic Aryans, primarily of, again, when we were discussing Indus Valley civilization, we had discussed that religion is important, and they have asked about early Vedic Aryans, religion of early Vedic Aryans. So this is early Vedic. Next they can ask later Vedic period. So once early Vedic period is asked, they can ask later Vedic period. So whenever you are reading about any particular civilization, you have to read about the religion and their society and other things that we had discussed earlier here. For example, we had discussed religion, either what things they are using, what kind of society it is. So clearly the same concept was repeated in 2016. And coming to 2017, what reference the difference between the culture of Rigvedic Aryans and Indus Valley people? See, again, when I had already talked about, if there are two similar things, UPSC tend to ask differences or commonalities between two things that I had elaborately discussed in part 1. Again, now if they are asking what is the difference between the culture of Rigvedic Aryans and Indus Valley people. So whenever you are making notes or reading, once you come across major civilizations, write down the similarities and differences. Sometimes they may give you directly, sometimes you have to find out the similarities and differences. If they are directly given, then it's well and good, but if they have not given, you have to search it and then make note of it. So make a chart, what are the differences and what are the similarities. In this case, they have asked about the difference between the culture of Rigvedic Aryans and Indus Valley people. Which of the following statements are correct? Rigvedic Aryans used a coat of mail and helmet in warfare. Again, in Indus Valley civilization, they had asked a question that what was used in the warfare. So in 2013, they had asked the people of Indus Valley civilization, they had employed horse-drawn chariots in warfare. So what was important from this is they're asking what was used in the warfares. What was used in the warfares? This becomes important. So again in 2017, they have asked that Rigvedic Aryans used some particular thing, whereas Indus Valley civilization did not have or did not leave any evidence. Rigvedic Aryans knew of gold, silver and copper, whereas Indus Valley civilization people knew only copper and iron. Rigvedic Aryans had domesticated the horse, whereas no evidence of Indus Valley civilization having been aware of this animal. Again, one is what was used in the warfare. Next, any metals, important metals. Rigvedic Aryans had domesticated horses. So what did they domesticate? What kind of animals were domesticated? And whether there was domestication among Indus Valley people also. Animals that they were using. And how do they come to know whether animals or horses was used? By the evidences, archaeological remains. From the remains, they can find out whether horse was domesticated or not. I hope this is clear. Moving to the next section, that is Science and Technology. In 2012, they had asked, with reference to the scientific progress of ancient India, which of the following statements given below are correct? So, they're talking about the scientific progress. Scientific progress. And that is, what have they achieved scientifically? Different kinds of specialized surgical instruments were used or were in common use by first century AD. Transplant of internal organs in the human body had begun by the beginning of 3rd century AD. The concept of sine of an angle was known in 5th century AD. The concept of cyclic quadrilaterals was known in 7th century AD. So, whenever you are reading about ancient India, you not just have to read about the society, you should also read about the scientific progress that had happened in that particular period. For example, in this case, they've asked about the scientific progress of ancient India. Next, they can ask about the scientific progress in medieval India, or the present world. So this can be a mains question also. In this case, it is a prelims question. They've asked about ancient, then they can ask about medieval, or they can ask about a particular age. For example, Gupta period or Mughals. So instead of just asking about a particular, just like ancient, medieval, or modern, they can ask about a particular, during a particular reign of, for example, the rule of Guptas or the Mauryans. What was the scientific progress during that age? So, or for example, Indus Valley civilization. That can be, these questions can be asked as in prelims also and also in mains. So always look out for these things and make notes for these. For mains, if you gather 4 to 5 examples, that's enough. But in prelims, you have to at least know what are the things that was there and any unique things that was there. For example, here they are talking about surgical instruments. There it was available, or it was in common use by 1st century. Then transplant of internal organs. Then the concept of sine, trigonometry, and the concept of cyclical quadrilateral geometry. So these things you have to read when you are reading standard books, or whenever you are reading this topic, that is scientific progress of any particular age or time period. This is a topic, the scientific progress, and that is not just for the prelims, but it is also important for mains. I hope this is clear. Next, we will move to the next section, that is travelers section. In travelers, in 2013, they had asked about the Chinese traveler Huan-Sang, who visited India, recorded the general conditions and culture of India at that time. In this context, which of the following statements is or are correct? So, in this question, the question stem itself points to the important things that we have to read. For example, when this Chinese traveler visited India and he recorded the general conditions and culture of India, this is the topic. You have to read about the general conditions and culture of India at that particular time, or it can be during the Mauryan rule, or Guptas, or any for that, anything for Indus Valley civilization or Vijayanagara kingdoms, and what were the general conditions and culture of that time. In the context, which of the following statements are correct? The roads and river routes were completely immune from robbery. As regards punishment for offences, ordeals by fire, water, and poison were the instruments for determining the innocence of guilt of a person. The tradesmen had to pay duties at the ferries and barriers. So, you have to know what are the travelers' account, and you have to read about what Huan-Sang had written about India, and who were the rulers who received this traveler and the places that he traveled and his works, in which work he had written about India. I hope this is clear. Moving on to the next part, that is the kingdoms. In 2014, the question was, which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of Buddha? And 2015 was also the same question. Which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of Buddha? Avanti, Gandhara, Kosala and Magadha. Avanti, Gandhara, Kosala and Magadha. Options also were very similar. So this question is important, and you have to also read about these places and the places that was associated with Buddha. This is very important. So that's why I had asked you to read about Buddhism and Jainism in depth and the places that was visited or associated with Buddha and Mahavira. So now they have asked you about Buddha, they can ask you about Mahavira also. So this becomes important. Now they have asked about the life of Buddha, they can ask about the life of Mahavira. And then the questions had repeated. In 2020, they had asked about, with reference to the period of Gupta dynasty in the ancient India, the town Kantasala, Kadura and Chaul. Again, the towns are important. The towns, and in Harappan's civilization, it was sites. The towns and sites of the particular period, that is in this case Gupta dynasty. They're asking, what was these towns well known for? What is these options? What are these options hinting at? You have to learn what are the important ports that was handling foreign trade of a particular period. So whenever you are learning about a particular period, you have to learn about the ports also. You have to learn about the capitals of these kingdoms, and if there are any places that has or that is famous for stone art and architecture. Again, stone art and architecture is important. And then Buddhist pilgrimage centers. So you have to also know about the pilgrimage centers that are present. So not just the answer for this question is important, but other things, like the things that are being hinted or just indicating that you have to learn about the port cities, so port towns, capitals of the powerful kingdoms. So they are only talking about powerful kingdoms, capitals of powerful kingdoms, places of exquisite stone art and architecture, and important Buddhist pilgrimage sites or centers. And these are the learnings from this particular question. Moving to the next section, that is terms. I had already discussed the terms that they have asked. Again here in 2016, let's see the question stem. With reference to the cultural history of India, again cultural history is asked. There was religious history, history of philosophical thoughts. In this case, cultural history of India has been asked. Memorizing of chronicles, dynastic histories and epic tales was a profession of who of the following? What are the terms for a particular profession? So, and what is that profession related to? For example, in this question they have asked who is, that is Shramana, Parivrajaka, Agraharika and Magadha. So these four becomes important. You have to read about this and also know what does it stand for or what does it mean. So that's why this question is important. With this we come to the end of the ancient history questions. Some of the questions that were present in this topic or in this subsection, that is under ancient history, could also have been placed under art and culture, and some of the art and culture questions can also could have been placed in ancient history. So as I've already told you, the division is not airtight and it is fluid. With this, we come to the end of this session, that is part 2 of ancient history questions. Next, we will take up art and culture questions, previous year's questions from 2011 to 2023. Thanks for watching.